Every man that can ride should be sent west at once, as Eomer counseled you. We must first destroy the threat of Saruman while we have time. If we fail, we fall. If we succeed, then we will face the next task.
Welcome to the Wayward Wizards podcast. Today we are reading Book 3, Chapter 6 of The Two Towers, The King of the Golden Hall. My name is Zach.
My name is Logan.
What'd you think of the chapter this week, Logan?
You know, it's sort of a transition chapter.
Yeah.
There's some cool stuff in it. It's fun to see Gandalf continue to be this new powerful force in the world.
Yeah.
And I really love the back and forth between Gandalf and Wormtongue.
Yeah.
And Gandalf's magic is really interesting in this chapter too. That's pretty interesting too.
Yeah.
And the way that he kind of returns Theoden to himself, is pretty cool too. So it's a good chapter, but it's definitely one of those kind of it gets us to the next kind of more exciting thing.
Yeah. I mean, strap in because next week is Helm's Deep. It's just about as exciting as you get. There's not really a ton that happens in this chapter. I mean, we do get introduced to probably a couple of my favorite characters. I mean, I love Theoden just in general. Eowyn is one of my favorite characters in the whole book.
Yeah, Eowyn is so interesting. The way that she's characterized, she gets more characterization than most women in Lord of the Rings.
Maybe any woman?
Yeah. I think so. But it's definitely an old-fashioned storytelling form, I guess.
Yeah. Very romantic.
And so she has all this gravity sort of placed on her shoulders,
Yeah.
And then she's the last thing we see in the chapter, actually.
Yeah.
And she's clad in mail and holding a sword, and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
she's like this Valkyrie or something like that,
Yeah. One thing that I was really hyper aware of this read through is the fact that Eowyn was initially the love interest of Aragorn. In the initial drafts of Lord of the Rings, she and Aragorn get married at the end. Essentially, that's the initial plan. So there's definitely some kind of remnant there of kind of their romantic connection. Reading through this, I mean, the way it talks about her hand shuddering when it touches his and all those kind of things.
I sort of felt myself cringe a little bit through some of the descriptions of Eowyn. Not because I think they're so bad. It's not. I mean, there's certainly fantasy novels where, the author's describing a woman's breasts for a paragraph or whatever. Right. It's not like that. But
right.
I found myself thinking, the first time that, Aragorn beheld Eowyn in the light of day and how she was, a pale spring that had not yet come to womanhood. I was like, ugh. When I was 16, I was probably right on. But now I'm I don't know. That's a little odd. I just, my modern sensibilities are I don't know about that.
We also get the character of Wormtongue in this chapter.
Yeah, he's a creepazoid.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I wonder, is there a more on the nose name for a bad guy character than Wormtongue?
It's very on the nose. However, there's some connection to wisdom, right? Kind of like saying dragon tongue.
So, the Rohirrim are Anglo-Saxons. They are Anglo-Saxons on horses. And the language that they speak is Anglo-Saxon, which is the same language that Beowulf would have been written in. And in Beowulf, the dragon in Beowulf, there are two words that are used to describe him. One is Draka and then worm. So W-Y-R-M. And worm could be a dragon or it could be a snake. And both of those things are associated with cunning and intelligence. If you think back to Smaug in The Hobbit, he's a very well-spoken person. And he's able to kind of like sow doubt in Bilbo's mind about, whether the dwarves are really his friends or not. He's just kind of a sly, cunning, kind of wriggling character. And there's a couple times that Gandalf uses like snake imagery for Wormtongue in this chapter. By my count, he calls him a snake twice. So I think like the association of worm with snake is definitely there. In which case, Wormtongue. Like I remember as a kid being like Wormtongue, like what a gross name. Like I mean, it's like you get this like it's just a terrible image of a worm tongue. But if we take it in the kind of like the Anglo-Saxon sense of worm, then we could read it as like dragon tongue or like snake tongue. And so this is a name that is given to him by all of the Rohirrim except for Theoden. Theoden so calls him Grima.
Interesting. I missed that, yeah.
It's like them recognizing that he is like a smooth talking, cunning person. So it's definitely not a positive name, but it's not quite the same as like, imagining someone whose tongue is made of worms or whatever, which is what I always thought of as a kid.
Yeah, that's definitely what it calls to mind. I mean, when you first hear or read the name, it's not like, this is probably somebody I can really trust. Just seems like somebody named Wormtongue, just a stand-up dude, But I think that background is interesting, and I think that like I think them coming across as sort of Anglo-Saxon or like Norse sort of coded, it definitely comes across too, and so that connection there into Tolkien's linguistic expertise is it just adds richness to the reading for sure.
I like to think that he's at least playing with that association of like a dragon or a serpent.
Cool.
Yeah, you want to jump right in?
Let's jump.
So, last chapter, we see Legolas looking off in the distance and saying, like, what is that in the distance? And he's looking at Isengard. And Gandalf says, battle and war, ride on. So, like, they're riding. They're riding. And then at one point, they like kind of move into like a new region. And Gandalf's like, speak, Legolas, tell us what you see there before us. And Legolas uses his like super elf eyes to give us a description of Meduseld before any of us could ever see it.
Yeah.
Because there stands aloft a great hall of men, and it seems to my eyes that it is thatched with gold. The light of it shines far over the land. Golden too are the posts of its doors. There men in bright mail stand, but all else within the courts are yet asleep. Edoras those courts are called to Gandalf, and Meduseld is the golden hall. There dwells Theoden, son of Thangol, king of the Mark of Rohan.
I like that Gandalf tells the company, he's like, maybe it looks like they're asleep, but they're not asleep. And he says, draw no weapon, speak no haughty word. I counsel you all until we come before Theoden's seat. He's like, these guys don't screw around. So let's not get into a fight before we like need to.
Gimli, I'm looking at you. And Legolas, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, he has to put his hand on Gimli's shoulder at some point here.
When someone says something about the Lady of the Wood, he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. You want to talk about the Single Manor, the Evermind?
Evermind is the coolest name for a flower.
I love it.
That I've ever heard. And it says that they blossom in all seasons of the year.
Yeah.
And they only grow where dead men rest. It's like an expression of the like eternal nature of humanity or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's beautiful.
I love it. I just love it. And then even the description of the grass on the western sides of these mounds where these kings are buried, the grass was white as with drifted snow. And then the flowers are there. So it's only on the western side of each of these hills. It says that upon their western sides, the grass was white as with drifted snow. And then that's where the flowers are.
Yeah. Small flowers sprang there like countless stars amid the turf.
Then the word Evermind sort of makes me think it's like a memory or like a connection or something to like the like eternal, the eternal nature of humanity as well as the part of us that dies. It's really beautiful.
It says 7 mounds upon the left and 9 upon the right. Many long lives of men it is since the Golden Hall was built. So these are like the kings of Rohan since Edoras was built. And I think Legolas's remark, is like, it's basically like 500 times the leaves have turned red since then. It seems like a very small amount of time to my people, but like he's reminded, like, it seems like it's a really long time for men that these
Yeah.
people have been here.
I like that detail about Legolas's people that they, maybe they count the years by the
Right.
falling
Changing.
of leaves in autumn.
Right. Right.
That's a nice little detail.
Right. Yeah. Orgron says, to the riders of the mark, it seems so long ago that the raising of this house has been a memory of song, and the years before are lost in the mist of time. One thing that really struck me this morning as I was thinking about this chapter, like we learned that Theoden's son, Theodred, was just killed 5 days ago. And he doesn't really mention him that much.
Yeah, it's kind of strange.
He talks a lot about Éomer and he talks a lot about Eowyn. And I feel like the movie takes time to kind of like dwell on that a little bit, give it like kind of the proper weight. Like in the movie, you have the scene of Theoden crying, like kind of reflecting on the flower and how it only grows on the mounds of the dead. And then you see Theoden weeping over Theodred, and he says the line like, "No father should have to bury his son." Like we don't get any of that here. And it just strikes
Yeah,
me as like very strange, very cold.
the only thing he says that's sort of near that is that he says that young men die and old men are kind of left to muddle through or whatever.
Yeah, Grima a little bit later says like, "Theodred, your son, was slain upon the west marches. Your right hand, second marshal of the mark." But that's kind of it.
I mean, is it like a king thing, that the king has to sort of stay sort of
Stoic,
stoic? Yeah.
potentially. I think like when he names Éomer his second in command, we're skipping way ahead here. He kind of briefly says, "I have no child. Theodred, my son, is slain. I name Éomer, my sister's son, to be my heir." Yeah, so I think the movie was smart to take the time to show some humanity in Theoden.
Yeah, it fleshes him out for sure. Part of me sort of wonders, like, it's been 5 days. Maybe they've already, they've already buried him.
Yeah.
And Amber is in jail. And so a lot has already happened. Although I don't think that, Theoden was really in a state before Gandalf shows up to like actually react to anything. I mean, is he really aware of what's happening around him? Not really.
It seems like, like what do you make of like his state? Like, is the implication like as we get it here? Because like in the movie, I think it's like much clearer that he's like a puppet of Sauron. That like Sauron is like kind of controlling him from afar. Here, it seems like it's a little more subtle than that. Like he talks about Grima's like leechcraft, Gandalf does, and so it seems almost like he's being manipulated by Grima. I think there is a sense that there's like something magic happening here, that Gandalf is releasing him from some sort of spell. But it seems that he's almost just been convinced by Grima that he is like older and more feeble and less capable than he actually is.
Yeah, I think it comes back to, as we've talked about in the past, that it's less about some kind of mystical magic and more about just a continued like lie,
like a persuasion.
Yeah, that Wormtongue calls everybody else liars
all the time.
That's a lie, because he's a liar. Because he's a liar,
Right?
And so he's like continuously whispering lies into Theoden's ear, and then there's also an implication that being inside this hall,
yeah,
and not outside,
yeah,
is harmful. He reminds me of my friend Ben, who I was talking to one time. I was talking about my depression, and he was like, "Well, Logan, we're not meant to like live inside dark caves all day every day. So maybe you should go outside."
Yeah. Yeah.
And even being inside with like electric lights, it's not the same as like getting sunshine on you.
Yeah.
And so it's really moving, I think, when Gandalf, Gandalf shuts Wormtongue up,
Yeah.
which is important, but more important than that is like, why don't you stand up and come outside with me?
Yeah.
And there's even a description of the way I actually wrote the word resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
It says the doors rolled back and a keen air came whistling in. It's almost like a tomb opens.
Yeah.
And then there's a wind blowing on the hill, so they're up on this hill. This keen air comes whistling in, almost like in a movie where, like in an Indiana Jones movie where a door opens and there's like a big whoosh of air.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like that. He kind of comes out of this tomb that Grima has constructed for him. And that kind of enlivens him. And then his, men are there and he sees them and he starts to stand taller. And then, then they put a sword in his hand.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he like can feel the strength of his arm, and he sort of remembers that he's the king and like what his duty is. So,
and then people like start to like ask him to command them.
Yeah, they're like, please, like it's it's an image of sovereignty. Like you are our sovereign. Like our will is sort of like bent to your will, or connected or whatever to your will.
Right.
And so yeah, is it magic? Yeah, I guess so. I mean, is it a spell? That's the word that we always come back to, is this like word of command. And so he is under a spell. He's under a word, but it's like a false word. And so
it's like he starts to believe the lie. It's like, they're turning up the temperature so subtly, and like I don't think that he was well and then he was unwell. I think it's like this like slow like dripping.
Yeah.
That like eventually he begins to believe in his own like feebleness.
Mm-hmm.
When he says we're going to ride off to war now, Grima's like, oh, don't send me away from you. Let me stay here with you. And he's like, oh, no. I'm not like sending other people to war. Like I am going to war. That's the moment I think when he like kind of breaks like his like the spell is broken. He's just like, oh no, like I'm strong. And it's true. Like he stands up and he's tall and he's strong, and the lines from his face fade away, never to return. And people start to beg him to lead them.
Yeah.
They arrive at the gate, and the guards at the gate are like, stay, strangers here unknown. They're like, what is going on? And they speak in the language of like the Rittermark, and Gandalf just slips right into it. He's like, hey, wouldn't it be like a little less rude for you guys to use the common speech? Because like clearly you see we're not all from your neck of the woods. He says, well do I understand your speech, yet few strangers do. Why then do you not speak in the common tongue, as is the custom in the West, if you wish to be answered? And they respond, it's the will of Theoden King that none should enter his gates, save those who know our tongue and are our friends. And they're not like super clear on the fact that they are indeed friends at this point.
It says, our own folk and those that come from Mundberg.
Yeah.
What's Mundberg?
Mundberg is the like Rohirrim's name for Gondor.
Oh, interesting.
Minas Tirith. They say, are you not a wizard, some spy from Sauron, or phantoms of his craft? Speak now and be swift. So these guys know about like Sauron's like astral projections that we've been reading about the last few chapters as well.
Yeah, and they don't trust Saruman,
Oh,
it's
no.
not like Saruman has so much sway here that they all think he's just a swell guy.
No. Yeah, and wizard is like not a positive here, right? Like, are you not a wizard or some spy from Sauron?
I like that Aragorn says, no, we're not phantoms, and these are your own horses, which I think you probably knew. And then he says, but seldom does the thief ride home to the stable.
Yeah, that's great.
I love that.
He says, here are Hasufel and Arod that Éomer, the third marshal of the Mark, lent to us only 2 days ago. And this is when we find out that Éomer has been detained.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, hey, didn't Éomer like tell you that we were going to bring these horses back? And the guard's like, Éomer, I have not to say.
Uh-huh.
If what you tell me is truth, then doubtless Theoden will have heard of it.
It's interesting that these guys are doing their due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they can kind of tell. I mean, they can tell several things. They can tell that Gandalf is not just an old man. He says, old and weary you seem now, and yet you are fell and grim beneath, I deem.
Yes.
And they're like, this guy's, there's more to him than what meets the eye.
But Gandalf, when he like introduces the company, he says like, hey, go get the king. Let the king know we're here. Like, he'll want to see us.
Yeah.
And the guard goes like, okay, what name should I report? And what shall I say of you? Because like you said earlier, he says like, there's something about you that's like, beyond than just like how you're presenting yourself to me. Right. And he goes, well, do you see and speak? For I am Gandalf. I have returned. Like, awesome. Like, is he saying more? Is more than just like, I've come back to Edoras.
I've come back to Edoras, but I've also come back from like the dead.
Fire in the abyss, right? Yeah. Like he is returned. And he's like, and behold, I bring back to you Shadowfax the Great, who, and who no other hand can tame. A little bragging there by Gandalf. But then he says, and here beside me is Aragorn, son of Arathorn, the heir of kings. And it is to Moonburg that he goes. So he's saying like, all right, this is like the future king of Gondor here. The one with the claim to the throne of Gondor. He says, go now and say to your master that we are at his gates and would have speech with him if he will permit us to come into his hall. I think what he's doing there is like basically like showing Aragorn. Like Aragorn is kind of the key that unlocks this door, because he, as the king of Gondor, would have authority to, basically tell Theoden what to do.
So, I mean, eventually he goes away, he comes back and says, follow me. Theoden gives you leave to enter. I wonder, did he actually talk to Theoden, or did he talk to Wormtongue?
I don't know.
Then, of course, they're told that any weapon that they bear, be it only a staff, you must leave on the threshold. And this becomes a big point of contention.
Bit of foreshadowing here. That, that's not going to go over well.
I think it's really interesting. They make their way up this hill. The kind of like hall is built on the top of the hill. Mm-hmm. And when they get to the top, there's seats. And the guards are seated on these seats, which is
with their swords across their laps.
Yeah, you don't think about guards as seated, I don't think.
No. Yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah, their swords are across their knees. It says their golden hair was braided on their shoulders. The sun was blazoned upon their green shields. Their long corslets were burnished bright. And when they rose, they seemed taller than mortal men. Hmm. So that made me think of the Varangian Guard. I don't know if Tolkien is really, exactly has this in mind, but the Varangian Guard was, or Varangian, I guess, Guard was they were basically the guards for the emperor, the like Byzantine emperor for 400 years. Huh. And essentially these Norsemen and Anglo-Saxons traveled down from, Daneland and Norway, traveled all the way down, took their boats, raided all the way along, and then ended up in Byzantium, which is kind of like, it was sort of like going from like the middle of South Dakota or Minnesota or like the Great Lakes or something like that, and ending up in New York City, or somewhere even more fantastic than that, like Tokyo or somewhere. Right. And then you show up and you're like such badasses. Yeah. That the emperor's like, want to be my best friends? And then for 400 years, you're their guards. And they were just these like huge blonde men in basically, Turkey, surrounded by like Greeks, and they thought of themselves as Romans, but, surrounded by Greeks and Turks and people like that. Huh. And so, anyway, that just made me think of that. And I just wonder,
that's fascinating.
Yeah. I wonder if Tolkien maybe had that in mind, that, these enormous guards are sort of standing outside of the,
that's really interesting. Hall. But, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the Rohirrim are so cool because, like I said, they're like Anglo-Saxons with like horses. you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a super distinct culture, like right in the middle of this world, you know?
Yeah, they're strange. And like we got, I think we mentioned in the like the Three Hunters episode when they first meet Eomer that the Rohirrim don't have written language. They just like pass down their knowledge through songs.
Yeah.
So they have this like long memory, but they aren't sophisticated in the same way as Gondor. You know, they don't have like the same like technological advancements.
Everything is captured in um like myth, song, iconography, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Um and it's like stories that are passed down generation to generation. I think that
yeah,
the fact that we get this detail of what is it, seven buried kings on the left and nine on the right, you know, that
yeah,
there's a place, like they're emplaced. They exist in a place, and actually the place even forms their language, where Legolas says, the language is like to the land itself, rich and rolling in part, and else hard and stern as the mountains.
yeah,
So being in that place has shaped them as a people,
yeah,
right? And so it kind of doesn't matter that they don't have written language, because they have such a strong connection to that place and their
yeah,
culture, and you know, this horse culture as well,
yeah,
and sort of continues to shape them as a people, which is
yeah.
pretty
That's
fascinating.
fascinating. That was a great quote there, and I think it like kind of describes Tolkien's own love for Anglo-Saxon, like what he loves about the language itself.
Yeah, you can feel that reading through this chapter for sure. So they meet Hama.
I must say we
Uh,
meet Hama, our
Hama,
guy, our guy
Hama time,
Hama.
Hama time.
Hama is awesome.
Yeah, I like Hama. He's doing his best, man. It's really a sandwich that Hama's eating. I mean,
Yeah,
he just, you know, he's in a bad position, being the door warden of Theoden, under the influence of this snake Wormtongue.
yeah.
Um, and he's really trying his best to like figure out, how am I going to do this well.
He's like middle management, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
You know, he's not calling the shots and he's given a lot of authority, but like he's kind of like in uncharted territory a lot of the time.
Yep.
It's funny, like, you know, if there was a character in the book who I'd want to be, of course it'd be Aragorn. Um, if there's a character that I would like aspire to be, I think it'd definitely be Sam Gamgee.
Oh yeah, totally.
Um, if there's a character who I probably like actually am, it's probably Hama.
Let's be real. Most of us in life are in some kind of position that Hama's in,
Yeah,
just muddling through, trying to figure out
just like,
how to do the
oh
right thing in an
man,
impossible situation.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I was told that you had to leave your sword, but now this guy's like telling me how magical his sword is. Gandalf's like saying that he needs to like lean on his stick. Yeah, he's just
I
the
I
poor
think
guy.
I think the thing that sums up Hama is the end before they walk in. He says, "In doubt, a man of worth will trust to his own wisdom."
Yes.
And he says, "I believe you are friends and folk worthy of honor, who have no evil purpose." You know, Amir says something kind of similar. Something about being the door warden. Like, my job is, does this door open or not?
Yeah.
You know? And like, there's something really simple about that. But gosh, it gets complicated fast, you know. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's about his own wisdom, you know. In the end, he's like, look,
I'm gonna make a determination.
yeah, and he, I don't know, he exercises his agency in a way that I think it is inspiring.
I think your comparison to Aemir is a really good one because you know similarly, Aemir makes a decision to break the law
Mm-hmm.
when he gives the horses to Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli, and he says like essentially like, hey, like my head is on a chopping block, like unless you bring these horses back by the way you're saying that you're going to, don't make me look like an idiot, please. Hama's got kind of a similar thing here where he's just like, oh, and you know, Aragorn's like, all right, dude, like at the end of the day, I think you know that we're like being honest with you. and you could either like sick all your guys on me and, you know, we can be 100-3 in battle, or you can just let us go.
Yeah.
Hama's kind of in a similar situation here where he's just like, like, all right, like I can tell I don't like this Wormtongue guy. I think he's like, I really like Éomer. He's now like in some dungeon somewhere. Like, I'm just going to make a decision here. And that's what he does.
Except I think the difference for Hama is like Éomer is
like third in line.
Sister son. You know what I mean? Like he's like the second rider of the mark or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like he's got some cover in a way because he's like a prince sort of.
Right.
Hama's just a guy.
Yeah.
You know?
He clocked in.
Right. His head actually is on the chopping block. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like Éomer, like, yeah, like maybe he gets like outcast or, you know, has to sit in prison for a while. But Hama's, it might really be his like undoing.
I don't want to belabor the point, but this is like a pretty running theme in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Where someone has to make a choice to follow the law or do what's right. You know, we saw it in Lothlorien where it's like, okay, it's illegal for you guys to enter into this land. Nobody's done it since like
5,000 years or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
like we are not allowed to let a dwarf in here.
Right.
Like full stop. And they decide to, you know, eventually they get word back from Galadriel that it was fine. But, you know, here, like Éomer letting them take the horses and ride on, even though it's against the law. Hama choosing to let him come through with his staff, even though, like, you know, it's against the rules. Faramir, we're coming up on him, like, choosing to let Frodo and Sam go. And then, like the other one is, there's the tower guard in Gondor who tries to prevent Denethor from killing Faramir.
Yeah.
Aragorn has to like give him a pardon at the end because he, you know, broke like the number one rule, which is, you know, do whatever the steward says.
Right.
So it's over and over and over again. I mean, those are just a few examples, but people are kind of faced with the moral choice of like, do I follow the rules or do I do what's right?
Yeah, discernment really matters to Tolkien.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Following rules for the sake of following rules is not his thing.
No.
He goes, I'm the door ward of Theoden. Hama is my name. Here I must bid you lay aside your weapons before you enter. I got a simple job, guys. I am the TSA. Like, there are certain things that you cannot bring into this hall. I will now list them. If you have them on your person, you must lay them aside.
Yeah.
And Legolas is like, hey, keep this well, for they came to me from the Golden Wood and the Lady of Lothlorien. All right. Hama's like, okay, yeah, all right, you got it from a witch. Great. Thank you for letting me know. He goes, no man will touch these, I promise you. I guarantee you no one wants to touch your witch bow
he doesn't
made
even
from
want
elf hair.
He sort of like takes it with like two fingers,
like,
you know? He's like, okay.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody's going to be twanging this bow.
Nobody wants to touch your things.
And Aragorn is like a little bit more like, it is not my will to put aside my sword or to deliver Anduril to the hand of another man.
Mm-hmm.
And Hama's like, sorry, bud. It's the rules. That's the will of Theoden.
Aragorn says, it's not clear to me that the will of Theoden, son of Thingol, even though he be Lord of the Mark, should prevail over the will of Aragorn, son of Arathorn, Elendil's heir of Gondor.
So he's basically saying like, hey, yeah, like Theoden is my vassal.
Yeah, like I'm the emperor and Theoden actually answers to me.
Yeah.
So.
Or he will.
So I don't really feel great about just putting my sword down.
Hama, his response is pretty like straightforward. He's like, this is the house of Theoden, not the house of Aragorn.
Mm-hmm.
And Gandalf is like, fellas, come on, let's move this along here. Like, we got some work to do. Like, let's not get into the weeds. Like, Aragorn, he says to leave your sword, essentially. This reminds me of when they're like negotiating with the elves in Lothlorien about like who needs to be blindfolded and who doesn't. Do you remember that bit?
Yeah, and then Aragorn eventually is like, look, we'll all be blindfolded.
Yeah.
But in this case, Aragorn says, any other sword I would lay aside. And it wouldn't, even if, you know, somebody as simple as a woodsman asked me to put it aside in his house.
Yeah.
I would.
But not Andro.
Hama's like, look, dog, you're not
Yeah.
going in there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so he's so adamant. And I think Gandalf is like, look, they're not going to touch your sword,
Yeah. Come on,
you
man.
know?
Come
And
on.
so, and Gandalf appeals to unity.
Yeah, he says, we're all friends here, or should
Right.
be. For the laughter of Mordor will be our only reward if we quarrel.
It's a great line.
And he goes, my errand is pressing. Like, let's, like, Aragorn, like, you knew you had to take the laptop out of the bag before you put it through the x-ray machine with TSA. Like, you are holding up the line, bud. Like,
Yeah,
why do you still have your belt on? Like, let's, like,
right.
is this your first time? Like, let's go.
Let's
Come
go.
on.
Here's my sword. It's called Glamdring. It's 3,000 years old. Like, take it, whatever.
Yeah. So here we get to the point where it's like, all right, like he gives Aragorn guff for not giving up his sword, but then Hama asks for his staff, and he's like, oh, would you?
Old man and his staff.
Foolishness, prudence is one thing, but discourtesy is another. I am old. If I may not lean on my stick as I go, then I will sit out here until it pleases Theoden to hobble out himself and speak with me.
Yeah, then Aragorn laughs and he's like, oh, every man has something too dear to trust to another. But apparently the staff is important to do whatever magic he does in the hall.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
That it like is some sort of like magnifying glass, like some sort of like
Yeah, like a lens. That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, Hama middle management just at this point I imagine just exasperated.
It's like, we've been talking about this for 10 minutes. Like, I'm sick of it, and I'm not going to tell. And the king can barely stand up, so I'm not going to tell him to come outside,
So here's the bit that you mentioned earlier that you loved about Hama, where he's like,
in doubt, a man of worth will trust to his own wisdom. I believe you are friends and folk worthy of honor who have no evil purpose. You may go in. Gandalf's like, sucker.
got my staff.
Yeah. So they see the king, and he is not looking good. He's so bent with age that he seemed almost a dwarf.
Poor Gimli.
So he's all sort of like hunched over.
His white hair was long and thick and fell in great braids from beneath a thin golden circlet set upon his brow.
And Eowyn is standing behind his chair.
Yeah.
And at his feet upon the steps sat a wizened figure of a man. So, Wormtongue is kind of like in that wizard realm.
Yeah.
Even though he's sort of a false,
advisor.
He's still, he's like this counselor to the king. Yeah.
And Gandalf says, Hail Theoden, son of Thingol, I have returned, for behold, the storm comes, and now all friends should gather together, lest each singly be destroyed. He stands to greet him, and he goes, I greet you, and maybe you look for welcome, but truth to tell, your welcome is doubtful here, Master Gandalf. You have ever been a herald of woe. Troubles follow you like crows, and ever the oftener, the worse. What a great sentence.
Yeah.
And ever the oftener, the worst.
I underlined
I
that
will
one
not
too.
deceive you. When I heard that Shadowfax had come back riderless, I rejoiced at the return of the horse, but still more at the lack of the rider. And then he says, and when Éomer brought the tidings that you had gone at last to your long home, I did not mourn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a pretty harsh thing to say to someone, even someone who you really don't like, and especially like given the 180, like, I mean, they're about to be like buds again in just a few pages.
Right.
I mean, that's a pretty harsh thing to be like, hey, heard you died, didn't mourn.
Kind of sad you're here. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of sad to see that you are still alive. But he says, why should I welcome you, Gandalf Stormcrow? Tell me that. And slowly he sits back down. And then like the sycophantic Wormtongue says, you speak justly, Lord.
The person he reminds me the most of is the Gollum.
Yeah.
Something about Wormtongue is kind of, he's just sort of like sniveling and conniving.
And the lying, the like untrustworthiness.
Although he sure does have a way with words. I
Yes.
love that he says, "Why indeed should we welcome you, Master Stormcrow? Lath spell, I name you. Ill news, and ill news is an ill guest, as they say."
Yeah. Lath spell being like the opposite of
Good
gospel.
God spell. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Like, I think we all know people who are like this. Like, it's like a bureaucratic thing. Like, a bureaucracy wants to maintain the bureaucracy. There's just kind of this like attitude of like, how dare you bring bad news? Like, I'm going to chastise you for like bringing bad news. Like, anywhere you go, you bring bad news, but you only bring bad tidings, but you don't actually ever bring any help. And it's like, yeah, like sometimes we have to like critique a system, and then there's going to be someone who's just like, why do you always just complain?
You just are always focusing on the negative, you know?
I feel like you just really, all like, don't you have anything positive to say about, it's just got
Right.
that, like, I think that's a very relatable thing where he's just like, hey, you saying you want to bring help? Like, did you bring men? Did you bring swords, spears,
Yeah.
horses? Like what help is it that you're bringing?
Yeah, I do know what you mean, and I wish that there's got to be a word for that.
Like, bureaucracies want to maintain the bureaucracy, and they don't welcome critique.
But it's also like a toxic positivity or something like that. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
Yeah.
like we're solutions oriented around here. And it's like, are you? Because I'm trying to tell you that something's wrong, and you're not like trying to work towards solutions at all. You're just trying to downplay what I'm bringing, to you,
Right. Yeah.
And I think Gandalf's reply is really wise, because he's like, look, there's negative and there's negative, or there's evil tidings and there's evil tidings.
Yeah.
Some people are workers of evil, and some people leave evil alone, and they just come with aid in a time of need.
Yeah.
And that's where Wormtongue is like, seems like you're just a picker of bones, meddlers of other men's sorrows, carrion fowl that grow on fat on war.
Yeah. Which I guess is why it calls him a crow, right? Storm crow. It's like crows are carrion. They pick the bones of dead animals.
And he says, "You're three ragged wanderers in gray," and then he calls Gandalf the most beggar-like of the four.
Yeah.
It's like, dude.
Yeah. Like, you're talking to a literal angel.
Yeah, right. And then Gandalf still has that sense of humor, though. He's like, "The courtesy of your hall is somewhat lessened of late, Theoden, son of
like,
yeah. It used to be a lot nicer around here. It's like, and now it's not.
I used to like this place, dog."
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and then Wormtongue insults Galadriel.
Yeah, this is where Gandalf has to hold him back. He goes, "Then it is true." Oh, here, let's see what. Yeah, I mean, he basically says like, yeah, you say that we're clad in gray. You know why we were clad in gray? The Lady of the Wood made these for us, dog.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. And we have passed through shadow and great perils to your hall. And that's when Wormtongue is like, "Then it is true, as Éomer reported, that you are in league with the sorceress of the Golden Wood. It is not to be wondered at. Webs of deceit were ever woven in Dwymordane." Like the equation of like sorcery with weaving, which I think is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when Gimli...
How dare you say that about my Canadian girlfriend? How dare you?
And I'm going to sing you a little song about her.
Yeah, then Gandalf sings. Oh. Should we read it? It's nice. I like this one.
Go ahead.
"In Dwymordane in Lorien, seldom have walked the feet of men. Few mortal eyes have seen the light that lies there ever long and bright. Galadriel, Galadriel, clear is the water of your well. White is the star in your white hand. Unmarred, unstained is leaf and land. In Dwymordane, in Lorien, more fair than thoughts of mortal men."
I don't think Gandalf should be walking around talking about that star in her hand, dude.
I thought that was a secret.
Like, yeah, Aragorn chastised Frodo for talking about that a few chapters ago. He's being a little loose-lipped.
Gandalf sort of inspires himself by an appeal to Galadriel, and then he's
Yeah.
like, "All right, I'm done."
Yeah.
and that's when he says, "The wise speak only of what they know, grimmest son of Galmod. A witless worm have you become. Therefore be silent and keep your forked tongue behind your teeth."
I have not passed through fire and death to bandy crooked words with a serving man till the lightning falls.
Then the lightning does fall. He like calls down the sky. Did I not counsel you, Lord, to forbid his staff?
That fool Hama has betrayed us. There was a flash as if lightning had cloven the roof. Then all was silent. Wormtongue sprawled on his face.
So did lightning clove the roof, or did Gandalf just hit Wormtongue on the top of the head?
That's a good question. I get the sense that he like made a big flash.
Yeah, there's some kind of flash, and Gandalf is into that kind of stuff, right? So
yeah,
but I also think maybe he hit him on the top of the head, and it just knocked him on his face.
I love that. It's like I saw stars. Doesn't he make a flash at
He makes a flash
when Bilbo disappears?
Yes, when Bilbo disappears, he makes a flash because he's like, people don't just disappear. There's got to be a little more magic to it than that.
It's like, yeah, that was one of mine actually. Like, so he loves to flourish like this, you know.
Yeah, he does.
Does he need the lightning flash? Probably not.
Probably not, but it really adds to the.
It inspires awe. Yeah,
right, for sure.
He says, "Now, Theoden, son of Thingol, will you hearken to me?" He calls him out, like he calls him to himself. He beckons him to come. He says, "Do you ask for help?" And then he points his staff at the window. There the darkness seemed to clear, and through the opening could be seen high and fair a patch of shining sky. "Not all is dark. Take courage, Lord of the Mark. For better help you will not find. No counsel have I to give to those that despair. Yet counsel I could give, and words I could speak to you. Will you hear them? They are not for all ears.
No counsel have I to give to those that despair."
Yeah,
is really interesting. I mean, that's
he's like, yeah, you've been in despair for a while, but like you don't have to stay there. Like hope is not lost. Yeah,
I'm not here to tell you about how bad everything is. I'm here to tell you that there's hope and there's something you can do about it.
Yeah,
I don't show up for people who get lost in the fact that things are broken.
Or it's almost like if you are just like in despair, you're not going to be able to hear what I have to say. But if you can see the truth in what I'm about to tell you, then you'll see that you are not without hope.
Yeah, that's really good.
Mm-hmm. You are strong.
Yeah.
Right? Like you've been told that you're powerless for so long,
right,
that you began to believe it, but there's still strength in your arm. And it says, slowly Theoden left his chair. A faint light grew in the hall again.
We hear a little bit more about Eowyn here.
Yeah, these are the kind of the descriptions that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, because Eowyn or maybe feels charged to help Theoden. But Gandalf says, "I'll care for him," and he says, "Go, Eowyn's sister daughter. The time for fear is past." And we get a little about how thoughtful she is, and she's a serious person.
Yeah.
And, she's very pretty, and she's got hair like a river of gold, and she's got a banging body.
she's a 10 out of 10 mega babe.
She's a good looking woman. But then, I mean, it's mixed with this other stuff too, which is interesting. Like, she's strong, but strong she seemed, and stern as steel, a daughter of kings.
Yeah.
That's as close as we get to like what I think of as like a feminist description of her.
Yeah.
And the rest of it is a little, I don't know. It is what it is. So it's not so dark here, says Theoden. Yeah, outside it isn't as dark. What do you know?
But that is such a profound, like, for all its simplicity. Like, he steps outside. We haven't really talked about depression that much.
Yeah.
But like, I think Tolkien understood melancholy. I think he understood like what what that does to a person.
I
But
agree.
I think he also understood like what it meant to be in despair and then to open the door and walk outside and suddenly like realize that there's hope.
Yeah.
And so like I think that's like all so encapsulated in this like really simple line. It is not so dark here.
Yep.
And Gandalf says, no, nor does age lie so heavily on your shoulders as some would have you think. Cast aside your prop. So he's like, you're not an old man.
That's that whispered lie that,
Yeah.
Wormtongue has been telling him, like, oh, you have so much to worry about, and you're not a young man, and
Why don't
like,
we just like go make you some dinner and
yeah,
just
don't
like,
go outside. Let's just stay here in the hall,
yeah,
and so
yeah.
getting outside into the sunshine is, yeah, it's a big deal here.
Dark have my dreams been of late, he said, but I feel as one new awakened. I would now that you had come before Gandalf, for I fear that you have already come too late.
Yeah, that's the real turn there. And then
Yeah.
he asks, "What is to be done?" So
And Gandalf says, much.
all right, he wants to know. Okay, so if there's hope, tell me what the hope is. What's the
Yeah.
next? What's next?
Yeah. He says, first off, first order of business, let out Éomer. I imagine he's probably in jail right now. Am I right?
Yeah,
And Theoden goes, yeah, it's true. He had rebelled against my commands and threatened the death of Grima in my hall. So the reason why he's like in prison is because he threatened to kill
Grima.
Grima. I think that's great. I missed that until now.
Yeah, Grima's not everyone's favorite. Oh, what does he whisper in Theoden's ear here?
I was going to ask you the exact same question.
But ever as he spoke, the light shone brighter in Theoden's eye.
I imagine. So Gandalf says, there is no time to tell all that you should hear. He goes, yet if my hope is not cheated, a time will come ere long when I can speak more fully. Behold, you are come into a peril greater than even the wit of Wormtongue could weave into your dreams.
Mm.
But see, you dream no longer, you live. Gondor and Rohan do not stand alone. The enemy is strong beyond our reckoning, yet we have a hope at which he has not guessed. So my question was, is he telling him, he's not telling him about the ring. He's not telling him
Frodo and Sam are on the lam.
I don't think he's telling him like there's this like, we found this weapon that the enemy contrives, I don't think he's getting into all that because he does say like, there's certain things I can't tell you still. I've not been able to tell you everything. But I think what he's
Yeah.
saying is like that there is hope, and he's like kind of laying out like, all right, here's my game plan. We're gonna ride out and we're going to kind of finish off Sauron and his army at last, so that he can't rejoin with Mordor and attack Gondor together with Mordor. I think that's what he's telling him. What do you think?
It makes sense that Gandalf would say, the plan here is to defeat Saruman and then go to Gondor's aid.
Yeah, to help them defeat Mordor, or to
I think,
help protect them from Mordor.
yeah, and I think Theoden is more convinced about the right thing to do being that.
Yeah.
Whereas I get a little confused because of the movies, and I think in the movies there's like all this consternation about like, well, are we going to go help them? And
that's
then
not
they
really,
have to.
That's not really.
That's not really here. Like here, he's like, we're going to
we're going to march
right
out and we're
thing.
going to meet Isengard.
Right.
Like the power of Isengard. We're going to meet them like in the field.
Yeah. And once we beat
right
them, the next thing is to go and smash Mordor.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
he even says, verily, that way lies our hope. So towards the east, where sits our greatest fear. That way lies our hope, where sits our greatest fear. So he's saying like, yeah, like you should be afraid of the Dark Lord. Like,
Yeah.
But that's also where our hope is. Like we're going to, and like he's not saying Frodo and Sam are there, but I think that's kind of what he's implying is like, but he says, yet hope there is still, if we can but stand unconquered a little while.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, all we got to do is just not break. That's all we got to do. And if we don't break, the enemy will break themselves. And Theoden, he has this lament here that I think is really beautiful. He says, "Alas, that these evil days should be mine, and should come in my old age instead of that peace which I have earned. Alas for Boromir the brave, the young perish and the old linger withering." He clutched his knees with his wrinkled hands. So
So
I think
he,
it's interesting. He like mourns Boromir here.
yeah, instead of
Theodred.
Theodred, maybe he just can't touch that grief right now, you know.
Yeah,
So he subs in Boromir.
yeah.
His own son is too close.
Gandalf says after this, he goes, "Your fingers would remember their old strength better if they grasped a sword hilt." You know, he's like, "Where is my sword?" Actually, he's like, kind of like pats his side, like looking for his car keys, kind of thing. He's like, you know, where is that old thing? And it's in Wormtongue's
Chest or
chest.
whatever. Yeah.
And when he sends for it, they find like lots of other things that he's stolen. He says things that men have missed.
And that's one of the places where he says, "You lie. I didn't steal anything." It's like, come
Exactly.
on.
Liar.
Yeah.
Says, as his fingers took the hilt, it seemed to the watchers that firmness and strength returned to his thin arm. Suddenly he lifted the blade and swung it, shimmering and whistling in the air. Then he gave a great cry. His voice rang clear as he chanted in the tongue of Rohan a call to arms. "Arise now, arise, riders of Theoden. Dire deeds awake. Dark is it eastward. Let horse be bridled, horn be sounded. Forth, Aerolingus." And everybody is just amazed at this. And they take their swords and they lay them at his feet.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, "Command us." So now Theoden is like in his like full power. Éomer is back at his side. And he looks to Gandalf and he says, like, "What is your counsel?" And he says, "You've already taken it."
Yeah, this is such a cool line here. You put your trust in Éomer rather than a man of crooked mind, to cast aside regret and fear, to do the deed at hand. You know, he says you need to get everybody together.
Yeah, get your boys.
And I mean everybody.
If we fail, we fall.
Right.
If we succeed, then we will face the next task. And that's the Battle of Pelennor Fields.
Yeah,
He's like,
right.
that's going to be like our real contribution to this.
Yep.
Is to survive up to that point. "Every man and strong lad able to bear arms, all who have horses, let them be ready in the saddle at the gate ere the second hour from noon." He's like, we're going right now. Like, there's no dillying, there's no dallying. We are leaving. And that's when we get the mercy that he shows Wormtongue. He says, like, "Hey, you're going to be able to ride to battle with the rest of them." And Wormtongue's like, "I'm going to stay with, like, don't deprive me of you. Like, let me stay with you. I'm your counselor. Let me, like, don't make me go off to war. Let me stay with you." And he goes, "Oh no, I'm going too." Right? Like, yeah, I'm going to be at the front of this battle. So you can come with me. And of course, Wormtongue doesn't accept that offer. But it's so slimy. He says, like, if you're going to go off, you need to appoint someone who will hold down the fort, right? Like, one who knows your mind and honors your commands should be left in Edoras. Appoint a faithful steward. Let your counselor Grima keep all things till you return.
Gandalf's line here, Gandalf is saying he's not just trying to get out of war.
Yeah.
He's trying to weasel his way into a place of even more power, which is what he's always doing.
He's bold and cunning.
He's like, he's wasting our time. He calls him a snake, down your belly. How long is it since Saruman bought you? What was the promised price? When all the men are dead, you were to pick your share of the treasure and take the woman you desire. Too long have you watched her under your eyelids and haunted her steps. So, like, Gandalf, you know, can read his thoughts, I think.
Yeah, and Amir's like, I already knew that. Like, I didn't need a wizard to tell me.
That wasn't a secret.
Says, for that reason, I would have slain him before, forgetting the law of the hall.
Yeah, and again, every time Wormtongue says you lie, it's like you tell the truth.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then that's when Gandalf says, that word comes too often easy from your lips. I do not
Yeah.
lie.
Yeah. And that's when Gandalf is like, hey, like, it would be just to kill this man.
Mm-hmm.
He has betrayed you. He has used his leechcraft to turn you into a feeble old man when you were still strong and capable. Because Theoden, here is a snake. To slay it would be just. But it was not always as it now is. Once it was a man and did you service in its fashion. Give him a horse and let him go at once wherever he chooses. By his choice you shall judge him.
That's fascinating. By his choice, you shall judge him. Because Gandalf knows that Wormtongue can't make an honorable choice. He's given himself over completely to this lusting after power.
Yeah.
In service of Saruman. He's going to show us who he really is, and that will be his own judgment.
Yeah, and that's what he does. He just spits on the ground in front of Theoden's feet and runs off. And Theoden's like, don't hurt him. Don't let him help. Don't let him hurt anybody else, but don't hurt him.
Yeah.
And let him take a horse, and that's exactly what he does.
And then Gandalf and Shadowfax get married.
It's the wedding we've all been waiting for.
Did you know there was a wedding scene in The Two Towers? Forgot the name of the book. I think it's pretty interesting though that Gandalf says, like, up until this point you just lent me Shadowfax, but like he's my boy,
Yeah.
and in fact he's more than my boy, and so we need to be wedded together in holy matrimony, because I couldn't take a horse that somebody just lent me into battle, like
No.
into the kind of like jaws of terror and destruction.
Yeah.
And so if you could give them to me for real, that would be great. And they get married here. It's really nice.
Says, I give him now gladly. Yeah,
It
it was
really
a
does
great
come
gift.
across like a father giving away a daughter.
Yeah. Do you, Theoden, give this horse to this wizard?
I do.
And then they get suited up. He's like, hey, take whatever, swords you want, take whatever shields you want. Gimli's already got like really good mail, so he doesn't take any of that, but they all take shields.
But he takes Theoden's armor or shield from when and helmet from when he was a kid. I love that.
Yeah, he goes, he chose a cap of iron and leather and that fitted well around his round head, and a small shield he also took. It bore the running horse white upon green that was the emblem of the house of Eorl.
Yeah, Theoden's like, oh yeah, that was mine.
Hey, it was made for me when I was still a boy.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that's great. I love Gimli's response. He goes, I am proud, Lord of the Mark, to bear your device. Indeed, sooner I would bear a horse than be borne by one.
Yeah, funny.
I love my feet better, but maybe I shall come yet where I can stand and fight.
Gimli's always got a little joke to tell.
He's always got a little jokey joke. So then Eowyn comes bearing a cup, and it's a like cup of blessing. She says, receive now this cup and drink in happy hour. Health be with thee at thy going and coming. And so they all drink from it. And this is when their hands meet, Aragorn and Eowyn's hand meet, and he knew that she trembled at the touch.
Oh, Aragorn.
I mean, if I'm touching Aragorn's hand, I'm probably getting a little tremble too.
I don't know, man. It's a little overwrought. I'm not sure. I guess so. He's a good-looking man. I suppose I would tremble at the touch of Aragorn as well. But
Theoden says, behold, I go forth, and it seems like to be my last riding. I have no child. Theodred, my son, is slain. I name Eomer, my sister's son, to be my heir. If neither of us return, then choose a new lord as you will. But to someone I must now entrust my people that I have left behind to rule them in my place. Which of you will stay?
No one is willing to stay.
It's Hama who says, we trust in the house of Eorl. And Theoden's like, well, what do you mean? The only two people left from the house of Eorl are standing right here. And he goes, oh, no. I'm not talking about a man. I'm talking about Eowyn.
She is fearless and high-hearted. All love her. Let her be as lord to the Eorlingas while we're gone. And like Theoden doesn't even have to think about it. It shall be so. Let the heralds announce to the folk that the Lady Eowyn will lead them.
Yeah. I love that they clad her in mail and give her a sword. It's like, what does it say here? She received from him a sword and a fair corslet. So like she's like geared up for war. She's like wearing her like war gear.
Yeah, it's cool.
And now we get the reconciliation of Gimli and Éomer.
Oh yeah, they kind of joke around a little bit here, don't they?
Éomer comes up and he goes, "Hail, Gimli, glowing son. I have not had time to learn gentle speech under your rod as you promised. But shall we not put aside our quarrel? At least I will speak no evil again of the Lady of the Wood."
I'll forget my wrath for a while, Éomer, son
Yeah.
of Eamund.
Yeah.
But if ever you chance to see the Lady Galadriel with your eyes, then you shall acknowledge her the fairest of ladies, or our friendship will end.
So be it. But he says, but in the meantime, pardon me. And like, as a token of my pardon, will you ride with me on my horse?
Mm-hmm.
And Gimli's like, as long as my comrade, my boy Legolas can ride next to us so we can keep our like witty banter going, I'm down.
That's so sweet. I just love them. All these guys, they're my favorite.
He's like, listen, as long as you don't talk bad about my girlfriend, we can be friends. And yeah, I'll ride with you as long as my boyfriend can ride next to me.
Exactly. Where's Shadowfax though? What's he up
Oh, he's
to?
running wild over the grass, my guy.
Oh, sure. But we get to see him. We get to see him run up. And Éomer says, "Were the breath of the west wind to take body visible, even so would it appear," said Éomer, as the great horse ran up, till he stood before the wizard. "But hearken all," and this is Theoden, "but hearken all, hear now I name my guest Gandalf Greyheim, wisest of counselors, most welcome of wanderers, a lord of the mark, a chieftain of the Erlingus, while our kin still last, and I give to him Shadowfax, prince of horses." It's like, thanks, dog.
What a turnaround. What a turnaround, right? I mean, he just called him beggarly and, an ill guest, laugh spell, Stormcrow, but he calls him Gandalf Greyheim now. It's different, right?
"Behold, the White Rider," cried Aragorn, and all took up the words.
Our king and the White Rider, fourth Eorlingus. And the last host of Rohan rode thundering into the west. And the last image that we're left with is Eowyn, sword in hand, watching the glittering of their spears as she stands still, alone before the doors of the silent house. Thank you so much for listening to the Wayward Wizards podcast. Next week, we'll pick back up with Book 3, Chapter 7, Helm's Deep. If you want to help out the podcast, be sure and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure and leave us a review. It helps other people find the podcast. If you want to learn more about us, you can always go to waywardwizards.com, or you can email us at info@waywardwizards.com. If you like one of us better than the other, you can reach out to us individually at logan@waywardwizards.com or zach@waywardwizards.com.
But until next time, dire deeds awake, dark it is eastward. Let horse be bridled, horn be sounded. Fourth Aerlingus. See you next week.
See you next week.